Namaste to each and everyone. And thank you so much, Atmalaya, Dr. Padmaja, Meenal Shah, who got in touch with me a month back. And I think I've been very impressed with yesterday's flow and today morning. So that makes my job a little easy to talk about today's topic. Now, before I actually go on to the topic per se, I think I need to go back a little to create a context from where I will be coming in terms of my pitching the talk. If you look at it, like most typical households in India, I was inducted into religion, the study of mythology, our scriptures, and everything else, more in terms of should and a must. Uh, Therefore, if you look at it, meanings were handed over and one had to just follow. Uh, Over the past 3, 4 decades that I have gone about, and as a student of this field, I have actually taken deep interest to go into the power of each of our scriptures and how it is relevant to each times, not for the time that it was just created. So if I have to then go back to understand the power of the feminine energy, let me make as a preamble that I'm talking about the feminine and not the female as in form. So it's not about male, female, the form, it's just about the feminine and the masculine in terms of qualities. Uh, so as we look at that, we need to go about the Shabda Brahman itself. From yesterday morning, I've been hearing, and normally also across the world, we look at Mother Earth, Mother Universe, Mother Nature. So the very being is described as feminine with all its powers. And when that feminine moves out into the outside form, which I will talk about it a little bit in terms of the Bahir from the Lalita Sahasranamam, it gathers the masculine for the need of becoming. So the Shabda Brahman itself, now if you look at the word Shabda Brahman, the Omkar, it's Nadam and not just sound. And it's Nadam, it becomes Nadam because of the fact that it has an inherent feminine energy in it. So there is Pranan in it. Now, from there emerges everything else. Now, if you then look at the Shabda Brahman and try to find meanings for that, the Artham, there are three forms of it. The Artham is divided into Shabdartham, which is primarily the word meaning, the literal meaning as is handed over and given to us. Now, to me, that is very, very limiting because there are a lot of shoulds in it. There are definite meanings. There's no space for anything else, leading to all sorts of calamities around, from arguments to whatever happens. Then there is something called Bhavartham. Now, when you look at the Bhavartham, you go a little beyond the Shabdartham, the exact word meaning, and into the feeling zone of from where what are the feelings of the person who's uttering that Shabdam. What has excited me over the last 3, 4 decades is beyond the feeling zone is the Sukshmartham. Now, the Sukshmartham is the entire world of very subtle, subjective interpretations. To me, that is very potent. So if I look at my own journey in discovering this universe, it's been from meaningful recitations to an implementation without really challenging anything, to now becoming a very meaningful interpretation. And once you get into that realm, the next automatic thing that happens is you talk about relevance. So if you look at the feminine energy, the qualities of one of the important qualities of the feminine energy to me is how do I be relevant for all times? So along with relevance, so we are not going to talk about then right and wrong. That's in a very limited universe again. So the word relevance then actually takes you back to various other qualities of adaptability, flexibility. So one associates Mother Nature, the universe, the Mother Earth with all these feminine energies. So from the Shabda Brahman, which has the power of the feminine energy, as it moves out into the Swan, it actually talks about three processes that are involved. Now, I would therefore like to detour a little bit from the Shabda Brahman to go back to the entire universe of creation itself. Now, to understand this, I'm going to come back to Lalita Sahasranamam to talk a little more about the today's topic, but I would like to go back in time to look at the energy itself. Now, energy is what? Where does one find the source of the energy? I'm not talking about the physics as in Einstein's law, which is about maximum about 200 odd years. The Hindu scriptures goes back to about 5,000 years plus. One has to dig deeper into the Srimad Bhagavata Purana, which is to me a very all-encompassing document and a very powerful one. Now, if in the Bhagavat Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, the most potent chapter is the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. It is the fourth adhyaya. Now, what is Chatushloki Bhagavatam all about, and how is it relevant to energy fields and to the relevance and permanence that one is talking about? Now, Chatushloki Bhagavatam, in essence, is that feminine part of Vishnu in dialogue with Brahma before Brahma sets about the task of creation of the universe. It's a very powerful one, especially to understand the power of the feminine energy. Now, before Brahma even sets about this task, Vishnu has this dialogue with him to say that, look, please understand that actually what you're going to do is only transformation and not actual creation. Because the word creation means you're bringing it from nowhere, and transformation is that there is already an existing of something before. So Lord Vishnu then talks about that before the earth, before the universe was created, it was always there. So he talks about it is, it was, it is, and it will be. So the three processes of Shabda Brahman as it moves out into the Bahir is actually one of transformation and creation. A very powerful message. To me, one of the very important things that I've journeyed into this field in terms of is how do these very powerful scriptures, philosophies, mythologies, call it whatever, how is it applicable to a layman in today's world? Because to me, unless it's something applicable, I do not find very attractive and getting pulled towards it. So actually, this dialogue talks about saying, don't take credit for doership. You are only a transformer. So neither will you take credit for doership nor ownership. Now, again, these two are extremely powerful feminine qualities and energy that comes from the feminine energy. And then the next one is of sustenance, maintenance, development, which the Vishnu part of it is all about. And finally, we talked about the Trinity from the Shabda Brahman that emerges. It is about what normally people call as destruction. I only like to call it as dissolution for further evolution and transformation. Because it's very harsh to call out somebody so powerful as a destroyer of. I don't think Shiva is a destroyer. He actually says that which is not relevant anymore needs to be dissolved, so that it becomes a cyclical process that what gets dissolved gets back to the creator for further transformation. Now, from the Shabda Brahman, so if you look, to me, it is very important when we go back to understand this from the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. The moment the Shabda Brahman evolves and emerges into the Trinity, walks the three divine feminine energy also of Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, and Parvati, the goddess of sustenance and grace. Now, to me, these are very, very important. Because unless these add to the source of these processes of creation, sustenance, and maintenance, there would not be well-being. Having said this, let me quickly go then into the Lalita Sahasranamam. The Lalita Sahasranamam, I think today morning, Mr. Arthreya from Chennai, who spoke, a very senior person, he spoke about the Lalita Sahasranamam. The other speaker also from Ahmedabad, Bombay, also spoke about when he was talking about yoga, yoga, Paramananda yoga. He also spoke about the Lalita Sahasranamam. And the last person who spoke, who performed right before my talk, he talked about Sri Matre Namaha. Now, if you go back to Lalita Sahasranamam, the first line itself indicates the power of the feminine energy, and without which the masculine is very helpless. It talks about Sri Matre Namaha, the three Shris, Sri Matre, Sri Maharajni, Srimat Simhasaneshwari. To me, more than important than is the fourth one, which actually says Chitaknigunda Sambhota, Deva Karya Samudhyata. Now, these two to me, in terms of application for the corporate world that I work with, for the homes that we live, the universe that we live, is so important. Where does this energy come from? This energy is actually, the feminine energy to me is nothing but powerful awareness. Awareness of the context. So you may be technically very right, but if you're not aware and therefore apply that so-called very right thing in a context which was not relevant, it doesn't work well. It destroys the well-being. So it actually says, from the awareness, the passion, fire of awareness was born Devi. So she's an embodiment of awareness. Chitagni Kunda Sambhut. And what was the reason for her evolution, for her coming out? Is for the Deva Karya, which means, as I have interpreted it, is for the well-being of the macro. So it goes beyond purposes to meaning of life. To me, therefore, as I have worked in the last so many years, it's very important that we need to work for the meaning of life rather than just a very short-sighted purpose of life. You may achieve your purpose, but yet feel very meaningless. So it actually talks about Deva Karya, Chitagni Kunda Sambhuta, Deva Karya Samudhyata, and then it goes on. So the meanings, therefore, will ensure, again, qualities of the feminine energy, which is continuity, well-being, and inner peace. Now, if you go back and pause here, I would like to take a detour from the Lalita from first Sloka to Vishnu Puram a little bit. Why is this so important? Because if you go back to the Vishnu Puran, the purpose of the avatars itself was that there was a rush to the purpose, achieving the purpose without pausing to add the feminine energy of the awareness. So let me quickly take a minute to say, Brahma set on this part of creation and he created Manu and Shatrupa, the feminine and masculine energy for creation of the universe, further creation of the universe. And he also created the Sapta Rishis, which is the source of powerful knowledge. And he said, this is very important. And quickly, Vishnu had to, the feminine energy had to come and say, look, knowledge by itself is Jadatmika. It's like a dead, cold, frozen being. It has to operate within the power of Vedas. So therefore, Vedas was then created, saying all knowledge has to have a boundary within which knowledge, however good they are, powerful they are, will operate. And then the story goes on to how Hayagriva, the demon, stole the book of Vedas, the four Vedas. And then Brahma runs quickly to Shiva and not to Vishnu. And between them, they talk about a quick next purpose and saying we'll destroy the Asuras to get back the Vedas. Now, and therefore, they resolve that there will be a pralay. So Shiva would unleash a pralay. Now, having done this, how does one ensure continuity? Because there will be only destruction, there won't be dissolution. So the feminine energy then comes back to take a pratigya saying, I will come back in avatars again and again and again, every time that there is an imbalance between the feminine energy and the masculine energy. To me, this is very, very important. Now, if you go back, Lalita Sahasranam beautifully talks about saying, Jada Shakti, it talks about Chit Rupa, Chet, Chit Shakti, Chetana Rupa. That is the Shakti, the energy that is born out of this feminine Chitam, that is the awareness, creates a very powerful energy, it's Chetana Rupa. Any Shakti that comes from mere knowledge from the outside sources is Jada Shakti. It says Jada Shakti, Jadatmika. It is as simple as a stillborn child. So there is the power of Vivekam and wisdom and awareness that is very, very important, that one has to actually integrate. So every time I listen to the Vishnu Sahasranamam, I actually go back and let me say that the Sahasranama is not 1,000 names. So Sahasranama, as I have understood and accepted for my life, is it actually depicts the unlimited, infinite qualities of a being. It's almost a reminder saying each one of us has those unlimited qualities within us. So therefore, there are nothing right and wrong about the qualities, it's only relevance. So Lalita Sahasranam further says, one of the realities is that you can't be just in your being. The reality of life is in the outside, the Bahir. And in this duality of the being and the becoming in the outside, stresses are going to be created. It's an inevitable, which you cannot control. So very beautifully, one of the verses says, Antarmukha Samaradhya, Bahirmukha Sudurlabha. It actually says, while you continue to engage in the outside, please take time out to visit the Antar, the inner being, where you get in touch with the feminine. And the moment you get in touch with the feminine, you don't have to do anything. I mean, I'm also a follower of Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. So he always says, Chummaru, do nothing, remain aware, still. What does it mean? So even meditating is doing something to me. It is just going back into the antar, the feminine, and just remaining still. And from the stillness of the powerful chitta or awareness will automatically come out. And then one can then go back to the Bahir for performance of roles. The Lalita Sahasranam is so powerful that as we keep going back further and deeper into it, it talks about Odhyana Pita Nilaya Bindu Mandala Vasini, saying the feminine energy is the centric part of the entire being. And it goes through the 7 nadis, the 7 chakras, and the 72,000 nadis and controls it completely. And therefore, it then says, if you can be aware of this feminine power and the energy inside each one of us and the universe, it talks about the integration of Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. It says for every action, one has to merge these 3 Shaktis. And before I end, finally, if I look at the last way, the way how Lalita Sahasranamam ends, it accepts the fact that there has to be a perfect integration between the Tandav and the Laya, Lasyam, to form a Talam. So it goes on to conclude the Lalita Sahasranamam by saying, Shiva Shaktya Aikya Rupinye Namaha. So it actually says we need, or each one of us, if we have to ensure a well-being, ensure meaningfulness beyond purposefulness, we will have to constantly look at the Aikyam between the Shiva, the masculine energy, and the feminine energy regularly, accepting that in the Bahir, there will be the dislocation. So this is what I thought I wanted to share with you all. Thank you very much. Thanks again